Roll call, here we got myself and Tom from Albany.
Hang on, I'm sorry, Bill.
Oh, you're not ready.
I'm not ready. It takes, well, I actually blame Zoom and YouTube for the delay.
YouTube.
There we are.
Okay, so we're live now?
Yep.
Do we have any public?
Yeah, nobody's in the waiting room.
So roll call, I got myself and Tom from Albany, the host, we got Gary, Jane, Rensselaer, we got the Smart. Troy, we got Andrew. Chris. Water police. No. Green Island, Maggie. Albany County Water Purification District. And CDRPC, we've got work in town. And no joint venture team participation.
No.
So, the minutes. You know, we've got a chance to take a look at the minutes. I had a few comments about. So, section 6. So, first paragraph in section 6, I think that probably was supposed to be a GIGP grant. And I think Hoosick Street AIS refers to American Iron and Steel. Not aquatic invasive species. Never know.
I think that was somebody who Googled the acronym.
I think down to Columbia Phase 2. I don't know that Arcadis was all okay in disbursement. Is that true? Gary, or would that happen? In terms of there being dispersible.
I think Arcadis is fine, you know. The latest thing I've got from Mark Howard yesterday was Columbia Street, the only thing they're waiting on is American Iron and Steel. We need that recertification for Fort Milford curb. So now, I don't know if Mark double checked for Arcadis or not, but I'm thinking everything is okay now, but I thought that before, so who knows?
Okay. So leave that alone. On the last page. The stuff about Beaver Creek. That's all about odor control and fiberglass tank. We put odor in front of that. And
Which bullet?
yeah, the first bullet is really all about our odor control equipment. It's not really anything with regard to a motor. It's just odor control. And so that's been the holdup, is the odor control has a great big tank with carbon in it. And the way the design went, you had to put that in before they put the concrete cast in place roof over it. So they couldn't finish the rest of the building until they got it. And we thought it was going to come in June, and now it's slated to come in July. So that's been one thing. So if you just have that bullet say that's been the delay has been for under control equipment, which long delayed. It was originally supposed to come in December. And I think on the phase 2 on the Beaver Creek, I think phase 2 is done. It's, I guess, basically underused, but it's not really been accepted by the county because there's still been problems with the conveyor, and the washer compactor. I don't know. That was the status of the last meeting. So everything was constructed, but all needed to be tweaked because it was stuff was going all over the place instead of probably being conveyed back. I don't know if there's an update on that too. But I think I was over the last.
Still working on it. We need work rate done.
So phase two, and other than that, phase 2A had a change order that was county legislature had been involved in the settlement of part of that, because part of was funded through the county. So I don't know if we discussed that the last time, but there's 2 and there's 2A. 2 was the screens and the conveyors and washer compactors, and 2A was this new throttling gate that EFC had decided we had to do. So they're 2 separate contracts, but they're both kind of associated with the South plant, so we call them 1, 2, and 2A. The 2A, the equipment's all in place, but the control panels are still in the right. That was the status last time. I think it's still the status now. Anyway, those are the corrections I had.
Okay,
Anybody have anything else? So, motion to accept minutes is corrected. Chris, second. Bill, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Financial report as of 6/1.
Okay, not much has changed other than the additional expenditures that were booked last month. We have cash balance of $118,000. Treaty balance net out to 506. The roughly $200,000 receivables are what's due to CSO for administrative expenses that has yet to be paid by the various communities. It's all within that 506. We've completed just shy of 65% of all the construction budget for the year, 21.5% of the administrative budget, for a total just over 64% total. And you see the May 31st community balances on the second page. Any questions?
Questions? No questions? Thank you, Tom. Vendor invoices, then. We've got a couple of Newcastle. Proposed Street, and we've got Northeast Network.
yeah, the Northeast Network was just to connect you guys in the quick ones.
So. That, do I have a motion to accept these invoices? Maggie, for the second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Proposed 2024 corporation budget. So the finance committee met and recommended a revised some revisions to draft budget that were prepared. And we needed to adopt the budget 60 days before the end of the fiscal year. So do I have a motion to accept the recommendation from the finance committee and adopt this 2024 budget?
I'll second it.
Gary, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? EFC disbursements and reconciliations. We continue to have every other week meetings with EFC to try to work those things out. We've got closings coming up on our first tranche. Would you already close on your first tranche? And you're having an extension on the second tranche. Our second tranche included the money for Columbia Street and Wayne Street, and Polk Street. So that was supposed to be maturing in September, but it's getting extended another year. Give us time.
Oh, another year?
To wrap up that stuff. So. And then Beaver Creek is just going along and we have another tranche that covers Manor Ave and Third Street. We haven't closed on that yet, but as I understand it, we probably aren't gonna have any pay ups on David Earth for a while anyway, so. Perhaps that's not a problem. I think we had all the paperwork in. I never did hear anything back from EFC about my suggestion on how to do the equivalent dwelling unit thing.
I just talked to Paul and Paul and I worked through a full process. Actually, I don't know. They want it in EDU. They're gonna count per person, EDU, so estimated units. 2.5 units per house times how many services we had, multiplied that out, and then so many gallons per bedroom, and multiplied that out. And then it was a whole calculation, long stack, an hour on the phone. Thank God I had a number. I can't give it. I can send that calculation to everybody. It's in the email.
That was on,
It was all just,
which financing was that?
that was for our transmission line finance. So it was for a water project, but it's the same calculation for everything. It was all off the top. They said the numbers aren't ever gonna go anywhere. It was just something that they're trying to calculate cost increase per project to a dwelling unit.
Okay, so yeah, if you want to share with that,
I can share that formula that I went through. It wasn't long by any means. There was a lot of just estimates.
so EFC. I guess everybody knows you need to, you want to put something on the IUP, you've got till the 16th. And then if anybody's applying for WIA money, it's July 28th.
But yet, you need IUP in order to get wheel.
I think you put in for WIA if you were doing grant only. No, you have to be.
Yeah, the
You have to be in
IUP.
the
Yeah,
IUP.
the 16th, if you're looking at anything.
Yeah, we're also trying to make sure we have bond resolutions done for anything put in the IUP, because for WIA, you need bond resolutions.
Yes.
Change your seeker stuff done to do the bond resolutions and. So it's getting down to it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's anything else that people are looking at the CFA process, and that's the same July 28th. We weren't particularly looking for any WQIP because we're not far enough along in our design with them. Stuff this year, so that we're thinking it's probably next year's. Yep. Any other business then?
We just have the update on the board binder and share point. There was a memo.
Yeah, there was a memo, people were. They're making things available digitally, we used to have. This binder, right, from 2015 or so, we had a binder and not wanting to really. Update the binders, it's gonna be a digital thing instead.
Right, so Martin created this page on the CSO website. It's called policies, policy documents. It basically replicates the binder in a digital format, so it includes all of the governance documents, all the policies. So if you ever wanted to, reference any of those things, requirements, they would all be here. Martin is still working on getting a SharePoint site up and running. But in the meantime, we'll still continue with the status quo in terms of sharing stuff with the board until we figure that piece out.
Does that have a search function?
This page,
That document, the binder.
this binder,
Yeah.
so if you were looking for something specific on, this goes for any web page, you just press Control F. And then you get this little box up here, and you can search for words on the web page.
Okay,
So that's it doesn't have a built-in search feature, but that's usually And I'm not sure if all these PDFs are themselves searchable. But that could be something that we could add and include to it. It looks like it's searchable. Comic Sans, that was a good choice of that. Any questions on that progress?
Just. I know we talked about it the last time, we mentioned in the minutes, whether we needed to be updating any policies. If anyone knows of anything that we need to be updating, but generally each of our other organizations kind of let us know for something new.
Yep. So we're always, minding the requirements for compliance. Our auditors also do that kind of thing. And collectively, we're all kind of. And, I don't think there's been too much recently in terms of new policies that we have to adopt. And new policies that some people would have to adopt don't apply to us because we don't have employees.
So I guess we kind of still needed the project updates. Beaver Creek is moving right along. On June 19th, they're actually going to cut into the Beaver Creek trunk sewer and start doing some measurements for how they're going to do the diversion. So that means there's the potential to have sewage coming through the satellite treatment facility, depending on how the bypassing works and what happens with storms. It's a tricky process. Once they start off just cutting the top off, to make sure they understand the geometry, because it's not a circle or something. It's something built out of stone. Then they have to. The first bypassing will be to make the diversion that goes to the satellite treatment. They'll be bypassing into the existing Beaver Creek while they're doing that. So they'll have to make a dam and pump over that area so they can work in it. And then once they've set up, once they've got the diversion part made, they can let the dry weather flow through that through a bypass around the satellite treatment facility and build the weir that's going to be on the existing. So most of the time, the flow will be coming, the dry weather flow will all be diverted to the satellite treatment facility and a certain amount of storm water. But in a bigger storm, some of the flow will be overflowing the weir and go right through the existing Beaver Creek trunk sewer. So Keller's going to have an interesting operation. I mean, it's all contained now in structures, but there'll be guys working down there that have to pull their stuff out if you get a storm. And
I'm just gonna say, you gotta give it a little water.
Is DEC gonna be sitting there with lawn chairs watching?
well, I guess one of the concern that we have is whether we're going to have odor during this period. We have odor control stuff that we're still trying to get into the building. We're starting this operation, opening up some sections of sewer. And hopefully we'll mostly be doing this when school's not in session. Because we're right next to them.
Clean smoke.
Right next to us.
Clean smoke.
How about hose projects, Gary?
We're winding down. Like I said, within the next 45 days, we'll probably be completing both projects. So.
Good.
Yeah.
And Van Buren they're not gonna start for a while.
That plan won't start till fall. All the contractors are kind of busy for the summer. In other words, we do still have a mill and fill on Polk Street, and then we can pay out the retainage on that. And then Van Buren will probably fire up this fall, depending on what their schedule comes. They anticipate less than 4 months of actual construction. And we plan 2 years in the actual scheduling, but it's probably less than 4 months of actual construction.
Okay.
They're still well in that schedule.
And Martin sent the amendment to the consent order to the DC, so I think we're just waiting for the final signature from DC and that modification. Extending the date for when it could be all set, so that's that. Anything else?
Did you want to talk about the matrix of responsibilities?
Yes. Trying to figure out an appropriate way to bring it up.
Matrix. Sounds like a science fiction. Yes.
We're on the hook for almost $4 million to pay for Big Steve for the next forever.
So the yeah, so
$400,000.
the matrix of responsibility that was part of the IMA, most of the things built were gonna be owned and maintained by the communities, but the floatable control facilities were identified as full communities. Full community things that would include the ones that we constructed earlier in the Beaver Creek and which little C once it's information.
So the estimate right now for an annual operation and maintenance on that is $400,000, $398,000.
That was what was submitted when we did the financing. We have to do that Schedule A to indicate what costs were gonna be, so that came from the joint venture, whether it's gonna be. I mean, we'll have to have more definite invoicing. Indicating what the costs are, I mean, power costs, chemical costs, and
Shell cost and all that.
our, the guy that we hired, Stephen Gephardt, did get his grade 3 operator's license, so we got a grade 3. We're still gonna be looking for a grade 2 to be assistant at the operating facility. And
Is this for the lifetime of the facility?
I don't,
And are we on the hook for percentage share for the lifetime of the facility? Was there anything in there about any capital updates, maintenance, up new roof, new tanks, new systems, new electrical, 50 years from now? Is it a forever problem?
I guess we have to go back and look at the term of the IMA agreement, see if it had a, what the term was.
So we'll take a look at the IMA agreement term. And it sounds like this is something that you guys can just take care of with another IMA that, I mean, you want us to help draft it, we can.
Well, I don't think we need another agreement. I mean, we have an IMA to pay Rensselaer and Hosback, in regard to their debt service on their EFC financing. We have this IMA for the costs. It would only be Albany and the hose that would have to send out.
Yeah, and actually, we can talk or whatever, but what we'll see is gonna be a passive stream.
There may not be any.
Yeah, I don't see an awful lot. And right now, the district or whatever comes up and takes a look at what's happening right now, but we're gonna have a passive stream. I'm not sure, even if the district just continues doing what they're doing, and for some reason they see something. I see our DPW coming in, giving them a hand. I just don't see an awful lot of, it's not like there's chemicals or anything else.
Well, that's easy.
Yeah.
Take that off.
Well, I could see a couple of years of startup, to make sure all the bugs are worked out. I'm a little concerned, $400,000, 50 years from now is gonna be,
But I
$1
think
million, and we're still on the hook for a percentage of something we did, and we're not even live anymore. Well, the structure has to be rebuilt at $120 million in 100 years, and the city of Troy has to pay its percentage. It's got a daylight.
So we'll take,
But I think the concept from the beginning was all of the big project was gonna be Beaver Creek And that kept other communities like Troy from having to have some, a satellite treatment facility.
I mean, even if you paid $1 million out every year for the next 50 years, it probably still saved you money.
Yeah, try to tell that to my council, I could have spent
I'll
$50
tell it to
million in
Carmella.
the city of Troy. You know,
Carmella loves
that's-
it.
She might not after that.
Maybe she's running for mayor now.
Well, I would give her an estimate of the cost savings, and then she can take credit for the cost savings. So I mean, but I would encourage a separate IMA for the very reason that Chris identified, which is, you know, it's gonna outlast us. Even if we're just talking about the term of this IMA. But another IMA would specify the specifics of what the cost.
Yeah, I don't agree with doing another IMA, but we should look up the term.
We should at least look up the terms of this IMA and get this kind of under control, where we are, when we are.
Yeah.
And then determine from that where we need to go.
But since this is kind of so buried in here in the roles and responsibilities, when Chris's replacement comes in and he gets an invoice from the Albany Water, he's going, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
And if there's no IMA specifically outlining. what
Well,
the
then the IMA
obligations-
is this.
Yeah, but 20 years from now, you know,
Well, if
all this is gonna be forgotten about.
So I have,
It
there's a-
also depends, I guess, we'll see, I mean, this is a placeholder right at the moment, we're gonna see what the actual operating.
Right.
costs are.
I look at it as a shot across the bow as a reminder. Now we just need to dive in a little more. figure
Because
out the
we're-
details on it.
We haven't operated anything yet, so.
Right.
And the other thing is too, is a lot of it's gonna depend upon the sampling that occurs after Big C comes online. I might be pessimistic. But I get the feeling that DEC is gonna be very interested in the sampling. And I wouldn't be surprised if they find something that they want the Albany pool communities to do. So even though the big capital projects per se may be out of the way, I don't think that everything is gonna be all said and done.
We're gonna find other hotspots and have a
Bingo.
long-term control plan part 2.
Yep.
We, trying to figure out if we have any PFAS.
Yeah. Yeah.
but I will say this situation is similar to the detention facility situation. Where we have an amortization schedule. of 25 years. We have a general IMA that obligates the communities to do certain things. But then we have a specific IMA that relates to. The actual obligations for X, Y, and Z.
Well, if we wanted to get more specific, like, how we budget and how we, you know, what things, because I think was Tom's intention to set up a separate budget for this stuff that we're tracking it and keeping track of it.
I mean, realistically, the way it's going is that facility is gonna be a regional facility and we're all in it. It's not an Albany project anymore, it's an Albany pool project forever.
Yeah,
That's where it's going.
so, and, yeah, and like, how much hypo we're gonna use and how much sodium bisulfite we're gonna use. Maybe we won't need any simple bisulfite, maybe that dechlorinated some.
That would be resentment.
I'm just gonna say, I don't know what was in your coffee, but
And
I
maybe,
want some.
and maybe it'll be swimmable, right, as soon as we start. I think that it's swimmable.
Keep the chlorine in it, not gonna be some.
I was surprised that they do let us carry some residual. Tim doesn't want any corn residual, but when they do. So there's a lot to be learned in the first year of operation.
And a lot of discussion about before we even get into that first year operation. Make sure we do all three moving forward. That's right.
So, yeah, we never know what DC might come up with next, so.
Right.
The long-term
It
control
might
plan
be
might not
EFC
be.
and Paul Johnson going, hell no. for doing that again.
So, there's nothing else. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Gary, second,
I'll second it.
Andrew.